Hello everyone, welcome back to the 2018 Granny Square Crochet Along. Today we are making this lovely square called Rattle the Stars. So we've got these 4 interlocked stars in the centre. We have made interlocked squares before. We've done the 4 rings that were interlocked, and we did the Hope Square, which was 2 rings interlocked. So this is star shapes. And it's pretty cool how it works up. We make strips of a kind of zigzaggy line for our stars, and then we sew them together after we've kind of overlapped and weaved them all in together. So obviously you could use any colours you like for this square. You could do it all in one colour, but it does kind of bring the features out if you change the colours up a bit. So it is one that you will need your patience with getting the stars linked in together, which I'll show you how to do that. So you do need a little bit of patience with this square, and as my saying with this one, don't let yourself get rattled. Rattle the stars, but not yourself. Don't get too stressed over it. And yeah, that's it really. So you might want a cup of tea for this one. It does take a little bit longer than usual, so just take your time and we'll do it together. So yeah, grab your things and let's get started. Okay, so we're going to start by making our star shapes, which are these kind of zigzaggy shapes, which we will assemble together after we have all 4. So what we're going to do to make those, you want to chain 36. I don't know why I just started on that row. So you want to chain 36, okay? And then what you're going to do is work in the back bump. So if you look, you have these 2 loops here, and we normally work into one or both of those. And if you look over the top, you have the back bump, okay? So you want to work into that, the second one from second chain from the hook, for a single crochet. And then you're going to do 2 more single crochet along. And then you're going to skip 2. So it's easier now to count the back bumps rather than trying to count the actual chains. So skip 2 bumps, or loops if you prefer to call it loops, and then you're going to do 2 single crochets along, so 1 in each of the next 2 bumps, and then in the next one you're going to do a single crochet V-stitch. So that's a single crochet, chain 2, and a second single crochet, and then 2 more single crochets along, 1 in each of the next 2 stitches, or bumps rather. Okay, and then you're going to skip 2 bumps and then repeat the pattern, 2 single crochets along, a single crochet V-stitch in the next. So single crochet, chain 2, and a single crochet, and then 2 single crochets along. Okay, and then you will skip 2 more bumps and start the pattern all over again. So you will have 4 peaks. Okay, you have this pattern 4 times, and then when you do your last skip 2 bumps, you will finish with 2 single crochet, and when you've finished that repeat, you want to do 2 chains and then fasten off, leaving a nice long tail. Okay, and there we go. Okay, so you need 4 of those all together, so I just need to make 1 more because I've got 2 of my yellow already. So 4 of those all together. Okay, so when you have all 4 strips for your stars, we're going to start to assemble them. So I'm just going to show you roughly how these make your star. Now what you want to do is the chains are going to be the inside of your star, and the single crochets are going to be the outside. I should see this one better. So the chains on the inside edge and the single crochets on the outside edge. So when you fold it, the chains are on the inside and it will be like this. Join the two ends together and it makes a star. So if I show you on the red, you might be able to see that a bit because it's darker. So make sure the chains are on the inside and make sure that the right side is facing up. Those two ends will come together and make your star. Now it's not quite in shape yet, but it will be once we start sewing it up together. So I'm going to have yellow, red, red, yellow. Okay, so 2 yellows and 2 reds. Okay, so I'm going to have these 2 at the top. So what you want to do is turn this star sideways. Have the tails coming out to the left, turn this one to the right, have them coming out to the right, those tails, and you want to, let me get this right, pop this underneath, okay, so pop this underneath like so, and then this top edge over, okay, linking those together. Okay, can you see that there? So we've got the yellow going over and then under the red. Okay, so over and then under the red. Okay, so they're coming out to the side like so. Okay, and then I'm going to take the ones for the bottom, and obviously I'm going to change the side that the colours are, making sure these chains are on the inside, remember. So the yellow is going to face out to the right this time, and the red to the left, making sure the chain is on the inside edge. Okay, so the red's going to be this side now. So we're going to do exactly the same. Pop this yellow under, and then the top edge over. Okay, so now we've got the red on the left going over the yellow and then under the yellow. Okay, so exactly the same with the top 2, but the colours have reversed this time. Okay, so the one thing you want to see is that where these indents, if you like, come from where we did those, where the shape comes from the zigzag, you want to make sure that they kind of interlock. So one of these from the red interlocks into the yellow. Okay, so they interlock. Okay, can you see that? They're interlocking there like so. So we did similar when we did the interlocking rings. We've done that before with the rings. The stars just make it a little bit more interesting because you've got the actual shape of the star rather than just being circular rings. So that's what we've got so far. Okay, and now what you want to do is bring the bottom ones up to meet the top, and then so this red one on the left is going to go over the yellow and then under. Okay, so like that. Okay, over and then under. Okay, can you see that one there? And then on this side, we're going to take this yellow under the red. So under, and then bring the red over the top, like so. And then the yellow is going to go over the red. Now I don't have any red left here, so what I need to do is just adjust this one and bring this down a little bit so I've got more to use. Okay, so then this yellow here has gone under, and then it's going to go over the red, back round to its own way. Okay, and then this bottom edge just comes up. So what you're going to do, what's best is to get some stitch markers and join the ends of each star together. So, and then you might just need to tweak where they are. So I'm just going to put the edges of these 2 reds together and then pop a stitch marker through there. This is probably the fiddliest part of the pattern. Once we've done this and then started to make it square, we'll be plain sailing. So bring these 2 yellows edges together, pop a stitch marker through there, And then we're going to do the same with the red down here. Remember that this needs to come round, and that yellow is going over. So again, you might need to just tweak where they're situated. Okay, you might need to just pull them a bit longer or whatever you need to do there. Actually, let's do this yellow one first because that's being a bit more straightforward. So just join these ends together with your stitch marker. If you haven't got stitch markers, you could use paper clips or safety pins, which these essentially are just a bit like safety pins, aren't they? So then this bottom one, the last one, is always going to be the trickiest. So just give it a little bit of a fiddle around if you need to. Join those ends together. I'm going to turn it around. And then put that stitch marker through there. And there we go. So if I can somehow open this out, you can see that roughly, very roughly, there are 4 stars there, linked together, all facing the right way. None of them are curled over. They've all got their right side up on the top. Okay, so all that's left to do is sew these together. Now, to sew these together, we're not actually going to be sewing the stars to each other. We're just going to be sewing the stars, joining these ends together. Okay, so what you want to do is use this long tail to join Okay, now I just want to reassure you that if you have everything facing the right way and interlocked the right way, if it gets squished, it won't be a problem. It will all undo when you can pull it out, and it will all come good. Even if it gets a bit turned over, it won't matter. As long as you don't twist the ends, as long as the ends stay attached exactly as they are, you'll be fine. Okay, so don't panic about that. Don't worry about keeping it all laid out nice and neatly. Okay. What you want to do, grab this long tail that you had coming off of that chain 2 that you made at the end, and then you want to attach this end here to your first or last single crochet. No, first single crochet here. So the single crochet is this one on the outside. Because this chain 2 acts as the chain 2 that we had in between in our V stitch. Okay, so what we're going to do, so it's going to sort of be like so. So you want to bring that into that stitch and just secure that together. Now we're going to be working over or around the edge of these stars, so don't panic too much if you think, oh no, it's not very neat, or my stitch is showing. It's really not much of a problem. It won't show much at all. Okay, now you could use this bottom tail to attach your starting foundation chain to the chain at the bottom here, but because I've already got this needle threaded, I find it's going to be easier to use this as it is. So I'm just going to turn it over to the back, take that yarn down to the bottom. Don't put it too far that you distort your work. Okay, and then I'm working on the back now. I'm just going to go into that foundation chain on the other side. I hope you can tell and see what I'm doing here. I'm just going to stitch these 2 sides together. Okay, just secure that together, making sure that there's still that chain 2 free at the top there, like so. Okay, so just secure these, and then you can fasten that off. Just fasten that one off, and then, oops, I've got rather a long tail there. So, where is it? It's got caught. Okay, let's just put that through there. Fasten that off, and then I'm just going to weave in all my ends of this piece. and then including this one down the bottom, just weave in these ends, and then you want to do that with each star around. Join the 2 ends together, and then when you've got all 4 ends joined together and your tails all woven in, I will see you back. Okay, so I've sewn my stars up, and this is what it's like. So this is what I said about don't panic if it goes a bit sort of out of shape, because it will all come good now. And if you're not 100% sure about your sewing, like this one here somehow hasn't gone overly neat, what you can do is you can make those your corners. So what I'm going to do is just pop a stitch marker in those 4 corners of joins so that I know where those 4 corners are, and it also helps you to identify where the 4 corners of your square are going to be. This one's gone a bit small. Some chain 2's kind of got lost in there a bit, but it will still work. We'll make it work. So it just helps you to not get confused and sort of miss points, or skip too many points even when you're working around. It would be easy to sort of skip those points. So just thinking that this chain 2 is there, that bit there, look, there we go. Okay, so I now know that they're my 4 corners, so that makes it a lot easier. So what you're going to do is join your background colour, and as usual in my tree Christmas style, holiday season style, I'm going to use my green with my red and yellow. So what you're going to do, join your background colour into any of these corner chain 2 spaces, and then I'll be back once I've joined mine. Okay, now this pattern is called Rattle the Stars, and throughout this round you will hear some rattling which just kind of amused me there. Okay, so for this round we're going to work into the back loop only of our stitches, but in our corners we're just going to work into the chain space. Okay, so in our corner spaces we're going to do that V-stitch that we did before. Now you can start with a chain 1 if you prefer, or you can just go straight into doing a single crochet, chain 2 and a single crochet. That's your corner. So you're going to do that on every corner. Okay, now we're going to work into the back loops. So we are going to do a single crochet in the back loop of the very first stitch, and then a half double crochet in the back loop of the next stitch, then 2 double crochets both in back loops, and then a half double crochet, half double crochet, and then a single crochet, and then you have your chain 2 space. So into that chain 2 space you're going to do a single crochet, and then chain 1, and then this is where you're going to come over to the next star. So if you look at where you've got your corner marked, so you've got your corner marked, and then you want the next point. Okay, so you've got a dip and then you've got a point, so you want your next point, and into that chain 2 of that point you want to do a single crochet. Okay, so we've got a single crochet into this chain 2 of the first star, chain 1, and then a single crochet into the point of the next star, and this is where it's useful to know where you're working. Okay, so then into the next stitch we're going to do a single crochet in the back loop, and then a half double crochet into the back loop of the next stitch, and then 2 double crochets each into back loops, and then a half double crochet. Now this is where it could get a little tricky from where you've sewn it up. Just work your way to those stitches, and then a single crochet into the back loop of the next stitch, and it's that very last one that might be a little bit tricky if you're using the side that you sewed. So there we go, and then we're back into our corner, so we're going to do that single crochet, chain 2 and a single crochet. There we go. Okay, so the next side we're going to do a single crochet in the back loop of the next stitch, and then a half double crochet. So we're just repeating what we've done, but I'm just going to do it with you one more time. And then two double crochets. Oops. And then a single crochet, and then into this next chain 2 you're going to do a single crochet, and then as before chain 1, and then you want to find the point of the next star, so make sure it's facing the right way around. Mine's just flipped over. Okay, so you want, again, you've got your corner here that you've marked, and you want the next point up from that. So go into that point, into that chain 2, and do a single crochet. Find your chain 2 and do a single crochet. Okay, and then you're going to do a single crochet into the back loop of the next stitch, and then a half double crochet, 2 double crochets, a half double crochet, and now for some reason I'm missing a stitch, so I probably somewhere went into the wrong stitch. So all I'm going to do for this is a single crochet into the very same stitch, okay, and that's absolutely fine. So you want to do a single crochet into your last stitch along, or into the same stitch as your half double crochet if you're missing a stitch. Not really sure what I did there, but it's fine. So then you want to do a corner of single crochet, chain 2 and a single crochet, and remove that stitch marker. Okay, so you're going to repeat this around. So remember, when you get to this side here, that you're going to be doing your single crochet in this chain 2 space, and then it will be the single crochet in this chain 2 space, the next one along from your corner, your marked corner, okay? And it's exactly the same when you come to this side around here, okay? So rewind the video about 3 minutes and repeat for these next 2 sides. So here we go at the end of that round. So you can see it started to square up. Now if your stars are not looking overly star shaped, which you can see mine aren't looking overly star shaped at the moment, don't worry about it. Continue with the border rounds that we're going to do, and then see how it's looking. And then if you need to, or you would like to, you can just sort of tack these together. Just use a tiny stitch from the back to just fasten these together, keeping them in an exact star shape, okay? But don't worry about that right now. Do the borders first and then see how your square is looking. So for the next round, if you want to change colour, then change colour in this chain 2 space, and if you're continuing with the same colour, just slip stitch into that space, okay? And then you're going to chain 1 and then 3 single crochets in that chain space, and then you're going to do 1 single crochet into every stitch along, and 1 single crochet in this chain space in the middle. Okay, so not back loops anymore, just regular single crochet, 1 into each stitch and 1 into your chain space, and then in the next corner you're going to do 3 single crochets. Okay, and then slip stitch into your first single crochet when you come back to the start. Okay, so try not to work too tightly into that round, because we're going to be needing to get into some other parts of the stitch for the next round. Okay, now I have actually finished that round now. I've just come back to tell you that message there about not working too tightly. So for this next round, which is round 3 of our border, we are going to work into the back post loop of the stitch. So a bit like when we work in the back loop of the chains, but what I'm going to do is turn this around, just take my hook out for a moment. So in the back of our stitches, camera focus, there we go, focus, there we go. So in the back of our stitches we have this back bump just here. Okay, so I apologise for that focusing and in and out. I can't seem to change the autofocus on this camera and it's annoying. So if you look, we would normally go through here, okay, but instead we're going to work on this little horizontal bar that's just below. So you've got your 2 loops on top here, okay, 2 loops there, and then behind you've got this loop horizontally that's for the post of that stitch. If you see, normally we would go round it for the post stitch if we're doing a back or front post. So this is the right side now. So what you'll do is, this is on the right side, you'll look over the top and then you will work into that loop there. So this is the top of the stitch. You will work into this loop here. Okay, so hopefully that's clear. Okay, so I've changed colour to my yellow and I've joined in the centre stitch of the corner. If you're keeping the same colour, it's probably easier to rejoin into your center stitch, or you could just slip stitch across to your back loop, back post loop there. Remember, it's not the actual back loop of the stitch, it's the back loop on the stitch, okay, on the post. So in your corner loop, corner stitch, you're going to do 3 single crochets, just as you have done on previous rounds. On your corner, 3 single crochets, and then you're going to work 1 single crochet into each back post bump, so into each bump on the back. So it might be a bit tricky to start with, and hopefully you should get a bit of a feel for it. So just going into that bump at the back, might need to help it along a little bit. Just doing 1 single crochet into each stitch along. Okay, so just take your time. There's no major hurry for this. You've got, just take your time, sip your tea and enjoy. It's meant to be enjoyable is crochet. It's not meant to be stressful. Although, if you're like me, it can be at times. So just work into this. I'm working in the row below. What am I doing? Let's try that again. So that's what not to do. Don't work into the row below. Make sure you work into the row that you're on. I'm probably talking too much and not concentrating enough. So I'm going to leave you with working into these back bumps. Make sure you don't go too low down and into the row below like I just did. So you're going just below where you would normally do your stitch. Okay, as I said, this could be a little tricky, so just take your time. Okay, and if any of them are extra tricky, just wiggle that hook and encourage it through. We all need a bit of encouragement at times, including our stitches. So I'm going to leave you to do this, and I'm going to stop waffling, and bear with it, and I'll see you at the end of this round. If you really struggle with doing that, then just do the back loop rather than that back post loop, okay, if you really struggle. But try and do it, because it gives it an extra different look. Okay, there we go at the end of round 3. Now, I don't mind confessing to you that I did get a little bit stuck with those back loops myself, because I hadn't done this previous round loose enough. So when you saw me struggling, and when I was showing you what to do, I was genuinely struggling. So I undid those stitches, and I did what I told you could do as the alternative, and work into the back loop. Now, it doesn't give quite the same look. If you remember, this row was tucked sort of a bit behind, so you couldn't see any of that green, and you just saw a little tiny bit of this colour. But it doesn't change the look of the square too drastically, so I'm not worried about that at all. It's all fine, and much easier to do what you can do than keep going and just getting too stressed about it. So this is how my round's looking. Yours will look slightly differently if you did manage to do those back post loops. Okay, so I'm going to change back to my green. As of now, I have got that highlight round. Change back to my green for the last 3 rounds, or however many rounds you need to make your square up to size. And all we're going to do for the last rounds are more rounds of single crochet, but just plain straightforward single crochet going into both loops just as normal. So plain, simple and normal. And you are going to do 3 single crochets in your the middle stitch of your corners. Okay, so join, if you're changing colour, change colour into any corner stitch. I would suggest to do that. If you are staying with the same colour, then just continue from where you are. Just chain 1 and then do a single crochet in the same stitch, and then 1 single crochet in every stitch around, and 3 in that corner middle corner stitch. Okay, so just keep working around until your square is up to the size that you need it to be, and I will see you when I have finished my square. And there we go, there is my final square. So I have I only needed 2 more rounds of this single crochet, not 3, and you can probably tell I have sewn my stars together where they overlap and join, just to bring them more into shape and keep them where they are. So you see on the back I've just carried the yarn a bit, and then when I sew the yellow, I just sew through the back loop rather than it showing on the front. So there we go, there is our Rattle the Stars square. A square not to get rattled over, just to take your time and take it stitch by stitch. So I hope you found this useful and helpful, and I can't wait to see your photos in the group as always, and see how you've made this up and what colours you've used. And if you have found this useful and helpful, then please don't forget to click that button down there and give us a thumbs up. And until next time, just keep hooking and don't let your tea get cold.